And now, the LSU Football Fix with Preston Guy, presented by TigerBait, starts now.
And welcome on in, everybody. This is Preston Guy behind a TigerBait screen because I forgot to pull that down. Joined with me, as always, every Monday night at 8 o'clock is Zack, Nagy of Sports Illustrated's LSU Country. There's going to be a lot to talk about tonight, and I am going to absolutely scorch earth after my film study. It was a film study that, not as an LSU alum, but as a lover of football, made me want to vomit. Now, if you're both a lover of football and an LSU alum, fan, whatever, you should be sick to your stomach based on what you saw. So we're going to go through that first segment, okay? And then we're going to talk a little bit more about where LSU moves forward afterward, and hopefully get to some Jaden Daniels praise, because he definitely deserves it. And the whole offense definitely deserves some praise after their performance after 5 weeks. But if you missed it on Saturday, I don't know if you're watching this show, I'm sure you did. LSU gave up 706 yards of offense. That is a school record and not a good record. That is the most yards LSU has ever given up on a football game. And after watching film thoroughly, it actually looks worse than I remembered. I am comfortable saying, and I spent a lot of time before I make this statement, I'm very careful. I never want to be hyperbolic. That was the worst defensive performance I've ever seen LSU play. And I feel comfortable after watching the film in so many ways. They were just so awful. So, guys, do us a favor before we get rocking and rolling here. Hit that like button on the video, share with your friends, get people out. We're trying to get people in watching the show tonight. And hit that like, share, and don't forget to subscribe, guys. We are closing in on 23,000 subscribers for the channel. So appreciate y'all. Zack, what's going on, man?
Not too much, man. It was a long weekend out in Oxford, but we're just ready to be back. Shake back, get ready for Missouri week. But yeah, long weekend, long Saturday night. Difficult watch, tough to watch, but look, we'll move on from here, and I know you and I are going to have a lot to say about this last weekend because,
definitely,
like you said, I'm going to double down on what you said. It was the worst defensive performance I've ever seen from LSU. It's the worst that you've ever seen from LSU, and we had some old heads as well saying that it was the worst that they've seen as well, and so it was tragic. It was tough, and here we are. Let's analyze it.
Yeah, man. And look, I talked to my dad about it. My dad has been watching LSU football for 50 years. He's with me on it. Worst defensive performance he had ever seen. I didn't think we would be throwing Bo Pelini bad out there as a superlative this season, but I think it was worse than that Mississippi State game. Guys, if you've got some comments tonight, this is a show where I just have a lot of material prepped. So I'm going to try my best to keep engaging with you, but just understand that, you know, it will be hard to get to everybody. If you really got something you want, throw out a super chat. Of course, we always get to our super chats. But anyways, let's get to a couple here. Big Cojones Kelly, I'll be here listening for the inner dog of Prestonian Guy and Zack Nagy. Never Nagy talk about this horrible. I don't know what never Nagy talk about this horrible.
He's such a loyal listener, man. He's the best.
Yeah, he's a good guy, man. I love getting his comments. Especially this one when he talks trash on Mike. I'm trying to see where he put it, but he just talked about Mike and using BFFs, which is hilarious. All right, here we go. Hey, Mike, tell all your BFFs hello for me. So dude, I've never seen anybody outside of a 16-year-old girl use the term BFF as much as Mike Scarborough does. So, of course, we had to get the Scarborough roast out there. Scarborough roast will always be warranted on this show. But what we really have to roast tonight is that defense. And
yeah,
everybody's been asking, you know, is it the coaching or is it the players? And there's certainly some talent issues I saw out there for the players. You know, sometimes guys weren't fast enough to run this guy down. You know, What I mostly saw was a lot of guys with potential and talent not playing like it. I mean, Mason Smith is out there. I mean, he's huge, he's big, he's strong. We know what he is as an athlete. And he's kind of just standing straight up and, not really being a playmaker. I saw a lot of loafing out there. So let's break down by type. I have this organized. I have a complete log of this is only on plays of 10 or more yards, and this is only on touchdown play. So 10 or more yards or touchdown play, and I charted what type of mistake we saw on those plays, and I charted who did them. Honestly, the list is too long to just read everything. So by type, defensive lineman stance, I saw 8 times. And then that's probably an undercount because there were certain plays where they were in bad stance. I was just looking elsewhere. Where either Jacoby and Guillory just has an offensive tackle stance where he is up and at them, or they're just 2 yards off the ball. I think that has a lot to do with, that's coaching. Pure and simple. I mean, did you notice the defensive line stances all night?
A little bit, but that certainly was not my takeaway when I was sitting there and watching that travesty go down. But that plays into it all, of course. It's just a collection of, excuse my French, but a collection of piss poor, play.
Piss
And
poor
it starts
is a compliment.
it starts in the trenches, and obviously, if you're not getting the best out of somebody like Mason Smith, it sets the tone for what's going to be a pretty tragic day. And that's ultimately what we saw. For Mason Smith, it's really been a struggle from the jump. And I don't know if that sprained ankle is still bothering him. I'm not quite sure what it is, but this isn't the Mason Smith that many expected come this year. And whether it's his stance, lack of explosiveness, however you want to cut it, it's been a pretty challenging last couple of weeks for him as he, shakes back into the fold.
Yeah. Across the board defensive line stance, under aggressive, that goes almost purely on coaching. Also, they do a lot of twists and stunts, which I think kind of behooves these linemen to be less aggressive from the get-go. And one of the things I noticed on run plays was defensive linemen are getting blown off the ball because these offensive linemen have 2 and 3 steps. I mean, they are far apart from each other. So these big 300-pound offensive linemen are getting heads of steam and are able to blow them off the ball because they got some momentum going. It's a lot of man meat coming at you. So the defensive line got blown off the ball at least 4 times on big plays, right? Of course, we talked about missed tackles. Brian Kelly came out and said 30. He did all the homework for us. 34 missed tackles. Pro Football Focus put out 17 missed tackles. I said, that sounds a little low. Brian Kelly is counting bad pursuit angles, hands on. 34 missed tackles for 288 yards. Guys, there are football games played where a team will get 288 yards and win. Okay. Yeah, big Paconis Kelly, man meat. So that is a term that I learned at a football combine. I think it was a ULL coach, actually. He said, when you got 275 pounds of man meat blitzing at you, what are you going to do? Pass block. So that is why I use that expression to this day. Anyways, 34 missed tackles on all plays for 288 yards. Soft zone coverages. That's been kind of the signature trait of this defense, giving up big plays this year. On those soft zones, this team has given up 5 big plays in that one game. Linebackers getting off their block. 6 times linebackers could not get off their blocks and make a play. On those big plays, missed tackles. Now, this is not all missed tackles. This is just on the big plays. 14 missed tackles resulting in a play of 10 or more yards or a touchdown. Loafing. Now, not all loafing is actually causing the play. In fact, most loafing isn't. It's just a sense of pride with your defense and giving yourself a chance in case the guy stumbles or whatever else. You can't put yourself in the play if you're loafing around. And as someone who takes pride in football, seeing on big plays, mind you, plays where your defense just got gashed for big yards, 13 instances of loafing. Man, as a football coach, that is brutal.
My thing is just like looking at like the explosive plays and chunk plays. Like we can look at it as like different terms and whatnot, but when you're giving up these chunk play after chunk play, explosive play after explosive play, which are
Yeah.
all just so preventable, to me that's just like it just sets the tone for what was going to happen. And it started early when they got up to that 14-0 lead, and it just never stopped, gashing the defense constantly. You saw Denver Harris kind of pop in there and do the exact same thing, just miss tackles, miss reads, and it all starts with the poor angles on tackles, and it just carried out to the entire game. It's like they went into halftime and just sat there and twiddled their thumbs because it just seems like nothing changed in the slightest. The angles were bad. Like you said, soft coverage or soft zone coverage, whatever it just nothing changed. It seemed like schematically they went in with one thought process and it just never changed. So I completely agree with you. And it starts with, awful tackling. It's the fundamentals that just seemed like it just didn't get through their head through all four quarters.
Got a super chat here from American Patriot. Why is the defensive line so far off the ball? Guys, I just switched up my internet. I actually usually use a wired connection. First off, I switched it to Wi-Fi. So someone let me know if it improves. So I'm getting some comments that is rough, and I'm sorry, guys. I have all the equipment and all the technology. I pay the big bills for Cox. If it's struggling, it's something on someone else's end. But why is the defensive line struggling? Well, because of coaching. Just straight up. I mean, when you see your defensive line consistently having this many problems, it is your job as a coach to get that fixed. I think Jimmy Lindsey being out is having a profound impact on this team. And there's not a ton else you can say about it. And that is why Pete Jenkins is being brought in to help improve the defensive line, because it's so obvious that something's not clicking there. And Brian Kelly even said in his press conference today, which, by the way, not a nothing burger like we've been getting out of his press conferences. I felt he kind of brought some energy today. But anyhow, that's why Pete Jenkins is coming in. He said John Janik is not coaching his primary position, and I think that shows. And it's not John Janik didn't get hired to coach defensive line. Let's put that in perspective here.
Well, what do you think of the hire? Like all in all, do you think this is something that can kind of benefit this team long term? What do you kind of think? I know
of Pete
he's
Jenkins,
a seasoned guy, but what do you think he can bring to that defensive line group?
You talking about Pete Jenkins?
Yeah.
Okay, so Pete Jenkins is 82 years old, and he is an absolute guru of coaching defensive line. He coached here, 3 different times, and his last stint was with LSU. I think it ended in 2018, maybe 2017 under Ogeron, and he definitely knows how to coach up a defensive line.
Right.
And he is definitely going to be able to coach some technique. I like that he's not on the field, because I question any 82-year-old man coming out of retirement to be on the field having the energy you need to get in people's faces. But kudos to Brian Kelly for not just sitting around twiddling his thumbs. He saw something was going wrong.
I love that. I love how proactive he was about it. He didn't even give it 48 hours to simmer. He immediately jumped on the case and went and made a hire to kind of benefit this defense. And that's something that I really love about Brian, is that he's proactive is the best way to put it. And so he went ahead, made the hire, did what he needed to do. And, I'm kind of excited to see what Pete can bring to the team. Obviously, super old guy, but really seasoned. So I feel like he can do a lot of good things with the talent level that they have up front.
No lie. Cox is dependable as LSU's defense. That is hilarious. Big Codas Kelly is dominating the comment section tonight. So, guys, do me a favor. I literally switched from the wired connection, which is usually hard and true, to Wi-Fi. If it's still rough, if I'm still lagging, let me know. I will just straight up tether it off my cell phone if I have to, because it can't get worse if that's what y'all are saying. Maybe the LSU's defense can't get worse. I mean, might as well bring in Pete Jenkins. Maybe there's some correlations with my internet and LSU's defense. But let's continue talking about where LSU struggled, because it's enjoyable. All right, scheme issues. There were 3 scheme issues where, based on the call of defense, there was nothing any of the players could really do to stop it. One notable example of that was a long touchdown that that Judkins got, where it's an overload to the wide side of the field. So what happens is you've only got 2 defenders on the left side of the ball, but it's the short side of the field, right? So that they kind of stacked it intentionally to where they wouldn't get anybody in space. Well, they had 4 blockers on that side, and they doubled up, and they just completely wrecked LSU. So there's certain scheme issues like that where there's just nothing you could have done, right? As a defender, 3 times that happened. Linebacker coverage was pretty atrocious. Only 4 times did linebackers just fail to cover the defender, but all 4 were just very costly, atrocious. So that was one thing that stood out to me. DB coverage, you had 3 instances of just the DBs not being able to cover. That's separate from soft coverage situations. That's blown coverage, or you were covering the guy and just gave him too much space. So 3 instances, 4 bad pursuit angles, most of which, and look, I hate to single out players, but Andre Sam, his pursuit angles are rough, man. And he typically plays with the most energy of anybody on this defense, which is desperately needed. But he did have 4, he had a great number. Not all of them were him, but the pursuit angles were rough for this defense.
We were one time today, actually, at the press conference, was he was one of the things that stood out on film so much was Andre Sam. Just all of his pursuit angles were, in the nicest way possible, trash. And he's been somebody who's been kind of stepping up when needed. And obviously the DBU thing is defeated right now, but he's somebody who embodies what DBU could be if it's trying to shake back this season, because he's just so passionate in the way he plays. But man, those pursuit angles were really, really tough to watch on second watch on film.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, and as a fan of football, it's rough to watch, man, because it's oh, not as rough as the loafing. I'll say the loafing and missed tackles were the 2 just most incredibly frustrating things, but shortly thereafterward, I would say those pursuit angles and outside contain. One thing I know, Savion Smith was really bad on outside contain, and they noticed that, I think, in the 3rd quarter, when they do a fake toss inside and then tossed it outside to Quinshon Judkins, and then Lane Kiffin caught that. And then they ran it for the rest of the game and absolutely gashed LSU with that outside contain, and they targeted Savion Smith with it because he was that bad on it. And the linebackers on that play could not get off of their blocks to save their lives. They kept on getting knocked out of the way and couldn't do anything. So that's kind of the just categories of struggles. And I guess the most frustrating part is there's no one item you can fix. There's glaring items. 34 missed tackles. You better tackle all week, right? Pursuit angles, but you have a lot you need to work on. And part of the reason why I think this is worse than the Mississippi State 2020 game, which previously was the worst defensive performance I had ever seen. The reason I think this was even worse is because there's just, in every way, shape, and form, you gave up 300 plus on the ground, 300 plus in the air, in every way. And it just seemed like everything Ole Miss did worked. And let's put it like this. At the end of the game, when LSU punted with 2:39 to go, Ole Miss had it on their own 12.
Yeah.
And there felt like zero confidence that you could keep them off the scoreboard.
No, it was just kind of like you put all your trust in the defense, and it was like it was never going to work. It was just never going to happen. Everybody said it was a matter of who got the ball last, and LSU just didn't have enough time to get it done. But my goodness gracious, you can say everything that Ole Miss dialed up worked, but LSU just made it so easy and effortless for them, especially when you're missing tackles on plays that should be just 5-yard gains, going for 15, 20, 25 right up the sideline. So, yeah, Lane Kiffin dialed up a fantastic offensive scheme, but LSU sure as hell made it way easier for them.
Absolutely. And we have a super chat from Devin Johnson. There are 2 coaches on the staff that know the blueprint. Find Louisiana dogs that want to eat off the floor. Find that dog in you, okay, and want to eat off the floor. Brian Kelly, do you know what the brand actually stands for? I think not. Bad news, guys. Well, they definitely got to get some guys playing with some pride and some dog in you, okay? We talked about that. That's something, a recurring theme on this show. You can't have dudes loafing around 13 times on plays of 10 or more. That's zero. I mean, have some pride. Even if you can't make the tackle, show that you gave it your all. Run after that ball. Ashton Stamps had a particularly bad loaf on a long touchdown. I think it was the one I was talking to you about where it's the overload on the right side, 4 guys on 2. And Ashton Stamps is the backside safety, which is your last line of defense, and he's loafing around. It's like, you could have made that tackle, but he just loafed. It's rough, man. It was a very difficult film study. Let's get to a couple comments here before we get to a couple of our advertisers here. All right, I'm hearing Preston, it's fine. Your cam is fine. Can hear clearly. They're pushing narratives. All right, so I've got one person saying it's narrative. Then Big Kahuna's Koenig Kelly says, we're not here for Preston's face. Otherwise, it would be dead as in here, dead as LSU's tackling. Well, one thing I'd say about my podcast, you never came for my face. I can assure you of that. Let's see here. Preston looks like I took my glasses off. All right. Just give me a couple more updates on how
it looks way better now.
It does since I switched to Wi-Fi from hard. If it's the lag. If I'm skipping, I got my hotspot ready to roll, guys. I will switch to my iPhone and I'm gonna go on Twitter and absolutely rip Cox a new one, just like I'm ripping LSU's defense a new one here. Because I pay way too much money for all that. Let's get to a couple of our sponsors here. Of course, I got to thank our title sponsor, as always, Celebrity Theater, for what they do as our title sponsor this year. They're locally owned and operated with locations in Baton Rouge, Broussard, and Ruston. For years, Celebrity Theater has been committed to providing a total family entertainment to its patrons. Because it's locally owned and operated, you're guaranteed to see a clean facility, better pricing, superior customer service, state-of-the-art technology, and an arcade with featuring more than 50 games in the Baton Rouge location. You're getting a bar that features wine, beer, frozen drinks. You get clean, oversized reclining seats every time. And of course, don't forget the Dolby Atmos 3D sound system. And we have a new sponsor for the show tonight. We're going to talk about IV Spa.
Hi everybody, we're so excited to share the news that both our Lafayette and our Baton Rouge location are offering semaglutide for weight loss. If you or someone you know are interested in our medically assisted weight loss program with semaglutide, call Kylie in Lafayette or myself in Baton Rouge. We'd love to speak with you.
That is, of course, Drip IV. Have you been struggling to lose weight? Maybe you have heard of weight loss injections from a friend or family member. This is your sign to check it out. Drip IV offers medically assisted weight loss with semaglutide at their Baton Rouge location and Lafayette locations. Call them to book your consultation today. They would love to speak with you. They also will guide you in the perfect IV drip that fits your needs. Excuse me. These IVs are great for anyone who feels under the weather or you need an energy boost. They're loaded with vitamin C and other great vitamins like amino acids, electrolytes, designed to get you back feeling your best in a hurry. Whether it's a hangover, a cold, preparation for vacation, or 706 yards of offense, Drip IV is there to help you recover. It's located next to Sushiyama in Eversteen's Perkins Crossing, next to the corner of Perkins and Essen. It's a super convenient spot to walk for walk-ins. And if you mention TigerBait.com, you're going to get $10 off your first IV drip. For appointments, book online or call the location closest to you. 225-256-3634. Open 8-4 Mondays through Friday. Thank you for becoming a new sponsor of the show, Drip IV. Let's see here. Preston, your cam is not looking good. You need Zach's camera in it. It's not the camera. That's the thing, though. The camera's HD. I'm ripping him a new one tonight.
The one underneath that.
I'm letting it rip tonight. Zach looks fine. Preston's pixelated. All right, look. If I look ugly, I don't care. It's if I'm getting cut up, I'm gonna switch to my phone if that's the case. Another super chat tonight from Chris Williams. Is BK disconnected from the nuance of recruiting here in Louisiana? I see he's been targeting Texas players a lot. The quintessential LSU team is comprised of 85 to 90% LA natives. I think that number's a little high, 85 to 90%. I think it's closer to like 65, 75%. And the recruiting classes are as well. Typically in Louisiana, you're going to get 12 to 15 takes in state, like that you actually land. There might be 15, 16, 17 players worth taking in the state usually. I don't know that that's necessarily the case, Chris Williams, because Brian Kelly landed 8 of the top 10 guys out of state in Louisiana. Now, he missed on the corner from New Orleans. What's his name, Zach? The guy?
Wardell Mack.
Yeah, Wardell Mack, who's going to Florida, and he missed on Dominic McKinley, defensive tackle, who's going to Texas A&M. And those are 2 big guys to miss on. But, I mean, mostly he's been locking up the states. Do you have any thoughts on that, Zach?
Yeah, I do. I definitely wanted to take some on this. Look, I mean, he's locking down the state for the most part. You look at the overall class, 23, 24 total commitments in the 2024 class. And, of those, we'll say 24. I'm pretty sure it is. Of those 24 guys, you have probably 70, 75, 77% of them are from the state of Louisiana. So, he's his whole message is kind of build a wall around the state of Louisiana. And he's doing a pretty good job of that. Obviously, swinging and missing on both Wardell and Dominic is pretty significant. But overall, he's been doing a really impressive job of locking down the state. And then I guess when you look at Texas, you have to go get those powerhouse schools like Duncanville. The goal is to kind of like develop a pipeline there. And you're doing that with 4-star running back Caden Durham, 5-star wide receiver DeCorian Moore. So to develop a pipeline from, LSU to Duncanville is super beneficial for the long haul. And, BK is not necessarily a guy who wants to go nationally and do what he needs to do. But, he went up to Minnesota and got the number 1 player in the state, Jackson Howard. And if he needs to go get the best player at a position of need, he's going to do that. And, he's done that. And he went to Texas and he did that. But when it comes to locking down the state of Louisiana, man, he's still working on making those connections in state, and he's doing it to the best of his abilities, and it shows in getting 8 of the top 10 guys in the state. So, no, I don't think recruiting in state is necessarily the issue, but he's still working, getting in those roots.
If you wanted to point out a concern with his recruiting classes, I've got 2 things I might point out. Number 1, class composition has been mostly good, but it is absolutely a concern that last year you went over on defensive tackles. You didn't sign a single defensive tackle. Wildly concerning to go over in any position group. If you watch my show, I am big on ensuring that you have a class that could field a football team. You could field a starting 22 out of your class every single year, right? So that was concerning. And then this year you could maybe be concerned, maybe the big fish recruiting, because he doesn't have a signature recruit in this class. I believe the highest rated recruit is Tradaz Green, who's like maybe 70th. You don't have a top 50 player in this class, right? And that might be a concern because statistically speaking, I mean, some people say stars don't matter. I say you say that you haven't looked at the numbers enough. 5-star player has about a 62% chance of getting drafted. A 3-star has about like a 2.5% chance of getting drafted to the NFL. And last I checked, you win championships with a lot of NFL players. So you definitely want to hit those 5-star guys as often as you can. And you don't have one this year. And that is a concern. But I would not say the class is necessarily bad. It's just lacking star power.
It's lacking that big fish, that big standout guy.
There's time.
And yeah, there is still time. It just seems like in that 2024 class, for the most part, it's kind of, dwindling down. It seems like what they have right now is kind of, who they're going to be rocking with come early signing day. But you never know. Recruiting's so fluid. Anything can happen down the stretch.
Thank you for the super chat, Chris Williams. I appreciate you chiming in. I hope we addressed your concern. Dane Bergeron, constant supporter of the show. Appreciate you, Dane. For years, he's been a loyal watcher of the show. I was a BK supporter from the beginning. However, he's starting to give me Les Miles flashbacks minus the tough football players. Oof, that one hurts to hear. I mean, guys, he's in year 2, and part of the problem with Brian Kelly is he artificially raised the bar with how he performed last year. I'm not ready to run BK out of town yet, and I don't think you should be either. I do think if this defense doesn't turn things around, probably some heads will roll, but I'm not quite there yet. I mean, what do you think about the overall BK job? I mean, Brian Kelly would be the first one to tell you. I mean, what he's putting on the field is unacceptable, but I think he can turn it around. It took him a couple years to get things rolling at Notre Dame too.
Yeah, I think my thing with it all is like everybody's coming for Brian Kelly's head right now. And it's tough because year 1 was just such a monstrous success. Like getting to the SEC championship game in year 1 was just damn near unheard of. And so you fast forward to this year and it's just like a championship or bust type of mentality. And, heading into the year, I just wasn't necessarily sold on the roster construction. They went into the transfer portal and got a handful of guys and, did what they needed to do in that aspect, but you're lacking that game changer in the secondary. You go and get Zy Alexander, who was an FCS All-American, and he shined, at the FCS level, but just lacking that big star power, like kind of like we were talking about with this 2024 class. But all in all, I think it's rough to go after BK's head right now. And like you said, man, it's only year 2. He's still developing, this roster. He's still turning it over time and time again. So I'm not, coming for BK's head. I think it's just year 2. You got to give him a little bit more patience.
I concur with you. And I do also understand that, in this modern age, it is a little quicker to turn things around than it used to be.
Everybody's on a short leash.
And look, Stephen Miller, he's a good viewer of the show as well. Good guy, Stephen Miller. Preston, I don't think it's fair to the firing of BK simply due to what you said. Last year, fans got spoiled. This is exactly what I was saying. I mean, the team overachieved a year ago. He inherited an absolute dumpster fire, and he was able to put together a 10-win team. I do think that there should be an expectation to get back to 10 wins again in year 2. But, just let the team play out. We'll see. The good news is if you can get your defense not playing elite, because that's off the table, but your defense currently ranks 117th in the country. And I refuse to believe that there's 116 teams with more talented defenses than LSU. That is absolutely unequivocally not true. I think LSU got out-coached, out-schemed, and I think their players just need to be middle of the road to get where they want to go because the offense is cooking. I mean, the
offense is, and I know this is such an overstatement, but saying it's 2019, like you'll never see an offense like 2019 LSU probably ever again. But from a numbers perspective and a statistics perspective, I mean, they're putting up tremendous numbers, especially with Neighbors and Brian Thomas on the outside. Jaden's playing phenomenal football. The offense is cooking. You just need to get this defense just a little bit better. Like you said, around that middle ground to a degree, even a little bit lower at that point. And I mean, dude, you could see this team play phenomenal football, but until you get there, it's going to be a struggle for the rest of SC play.
I think that you said you feel that. Yeah. I've had a lot of groans this week. This is not a super fun week, and then Cox is not making it easier. By the way, I switched to my cell phone. I said screw it. We're going with the cell phone internet here. I have no idea what it's going to do for the show, but we'll see. I think getting to 50, 60th in the country, if you fix just tackling, I think you have a chance to be a defense that's approaching average. And if you get there, this team can win games. I also look at how the defense is struggling. Most of the struggle has been, either soft coverage, dynamic quarterbacks, buying time, that kind of stuff, and who's left on the schedule. Unfortunately, LSU goes to Missouri, where they have a guy, Brady Cook, who is absolutely cooking right now. He's probably the second best quarterback in the SEC statistically behind Jaden Daniels. Have you gotten to watch him play at all? I mean, Mizzou's kind of tough to find on TV when you're
I
working.
have a
in
little bit, but I mean, dude, when you're watching that Mizzou film, it's Luther Burden. I mean, it's the Luther Burden show. He's an absolute freak of a football player, and they're going to try to exploit this secondary like crazy.
Yeah.
So I've watched a little bit of their signal callers film, but man, Luther Burden jumps off the screen like a sore. I mean, it's insane what he's going to be able to do long term.
What I'm specifically concerned about is if Brady Cook is mobile enough to buy some time,
Right.
to get wide open guys.
I mean, dude, you and I were talking about that last week. We were talking about how, the defensive line was getting in the backfield and getting to the quarterback, but not necessarily getting home, not necessarily getting him down to the ground. And we saw that with KJ Jefferson, and we saw that again with Jackson Dart, who's obviously not the same size as KJ. So, I mean, what's going to happen this weekend when you travel up to Missouri? Is it going to be the same story where, you get in the backfield, but you don't wrap up, you don't finish the job? And if you can't do that against Missouri, I mean, dude, you're in for another long, long weekend of football.
Yeah, and again, mostly Lane Kiffin schemed around that. By the way, that was one of the things.
He's such an offensive mastermind.
Watching the plays he called and the things he recognized, it was really a master class of offensive play calling on Lane Kiffin. Granted, LSU was giving him a lot to work with, but it was an absolute master class. It was, if you're watching for offense, that was fun to watch. Just the way he's taking advantage of soft zones, the way he recognized the outside contain was just not there. I mean, Jackson Dart hurdled Andre Sam. I mean, it was a clinic. Lane Kiffin put on an absolute clinic, recognizing that they like to stack to overload to the wide side of the field, and then putting extra blockers on the short side and bursting up the seam. Man, it was a lot. So I don't think Missouri's going to be quite as capable of taking advantage of it. Oh, and not to mention just the way that Lane Kiffin recognized that LSU runs a crap load of zone coverage and does not man up on receivers. I don't care if LSU has the Jimmies and Joes to do it. I think you got to start running a little more man coverage. I mean, did that pop out to you at all?
Absolutely. And especially when you're playing a guy like Denver Harris on the field, for significant snaps. I mean, he's a press coverage corner, and that's his strong suit. And so when you throw him back into this soft zone coverage, it makes him kind of look like the word I'm not, just looks like a bad player. I'll leave it at that. Yeah, that's it. We'll be nice today. Nice.
It would be nice just to be less predictable. I see things like that touchdown. They had a crossing route. They ran a lot of crossing routes because that's how you take advantage of zone. Well, you've got guys biting on one of the crossing routes, leaving his zone, going upfield, and then you've got a guy just wide open. I mean,
the one that stood out most was Major Burns.
Yeah.
There was a play where Major Burns just absolutely played off. They ran a crossing route, and the middle of the field was just completely wide open. And that's what was killing us on 3rd and 11, 3rd and 10, whichever, 3rd and long in general, was those crossing routes and just specifically exploiting the middle of the field to that degree. So, yeah, you and I are on the same page. I'm trying to keep it nice and not get too hot with this one because that was a tough watch on Saturday, man. Very tough.
I'm trying to keep it in perspective too, and I probably have an unpopular take that I don't think this LSU is just gonna crash and burn. And I'm hearing a lot of people saying 7-5, 8-4 is probably approaching more realistic. I still think this team, because of how incapable Alabama's offense is, has a chance to pull that upset off. And then looking at the schedule, I mean, Florida doesn't really have a dynamic offense that can take advantage of you. And when I say take advantage of you, I mean score 40 points, because your offense is going to score 40. It should. They're rocking and rolling, and they're getting better as time goes on. So that's the good news, is outside of some conservative play calling there on the back end, which most games that's enough to have a whole show talking about, like, why are you running a swing route to Caleb Jackson, who we saw in fall camp struggle catching the ball out of the backfield, although he did catch one swing pass for that remember that Saturday scrimmage we went to where he broke it 80 yards or whatever, but like his hands haven't been great, man. And then you took Logan Diggs out, who's an excellent ball catcher. Ugh. But anyways, that could be a whole show on another night. I do think LSU's offense will continue to rock and roll. And I do think Jaden Daniels is having a Heisman-worthy campaign. Remember, we were talking about all the things he needs to improve on to go from good to great. Needs to push the ball downfield.
All of them.
He did it. He looked incredible. He threw the ball downfield, tight coverage. He was aggressive. Oh, man. It's just frustrating that's kind of the thing I was looking at. Like, if Jaden Daniels can elevate his game, LSU could be a national title contender. And he's done it, but LSU ain't a national title contender.
I mean, what do you think's like the biggest disappointment? Like, would you say the defensive line is the biggest disappointment, considering, I mean, we all kind of knew it was written on the wall that the secondary would struggle, but I guess, would you say the defensive line is just the absolute biggest disappointment?
Yeah. Followed shortly by linebacker. Omar Spates has not been very good.
I have to believe that he's playing with that hip flexor injury. I have to believe that that's been something that's been lingering since week 1, because it's been a true struggle for him so far. And he's just so talented. I'm not sure what else could be holding him back besides that hip flexor injury, just lingering and lingering.
He looks like a player playing with a tight hip flexor.
And just a step behind.
I hope that's the case, because that means, as he moves on to become an NFL player next year, he will eventually bounce back and be more capable. But Whit Weeks, I don't think there's any reason to take Whit Weeks off the field. He's been incredible
for every damn play. He is explosive. He shoots the gap like crazy. I love everything that he brings to the table. The fact that he received not one snap until like 28 points were on the board or something.
No, that's unexcusable. And Brian
Kelly, it made no sense to me, man. I couldn't believe that.
Here we go. Brian Kelly's presser, he was talking about how, he's a freshman and he's got to learn. I'm like, man, well, he's playing better than the seniors. So I don't know exactly what you're talking about with him off the field. Greg Penn had a very rough game. Greg Penn's had a very disappointing season. Now, in all fairness, Greg Penn's around the ball a lot because of the nature of his position, but he had 10 bad plays of various types. Other players up there, Andre Sam had 9 plays where he screwed up and allowed a big play. Savion Smith actually had a really rough game. I mean, really rough, especially once they discovered he was doing a bad job on outside contain on run tosses. He had 7 negative plays. Burns with 6. Sage Ryan with 6. What surprised me, Harold Perkins, the only one time he stood out to me as having messed something up, because it seems like teams are kind of scheming around him at this point. And when everybody else on the defense is so rough, it's pretty easy to scheme around one hyper talented player. But he's also had some times in other games this year where he wasn't playing the most disciplined of football. And he really didn't show up on film, at least on my film study. Omar Spates with 3 negative plays. Ovie Agofu, man, two major plays. That touchdown play he had, I know it wasn't his fault. It was a rub route where the defender got tied up. One of the few instances of man coverage that they did run. But he got tied up in the motion. Well, Ovie Agofu kind of had this indecision of, do I go after the quarterback or do I go? He was kind of running after the quarterback, waited till the running back had slipped,
Was that the touchdown to Quinshon Judkins in the back right quarter of the end zone?
Yeah. Yep, that one. Well, he kind of decided to drop back in coverage way too late. I'm like, look, either catch it early and go follow him to the end zone and make a play, right? Or go 100 miles an hour and smack the quarterback in the face. It's that kind of stuff. Like, this defense lacks a lot of
indecisiveness is the best way that I was thinking it.
Yeah, and I don't think it's necessarily play calling as much as it is just technique. Coaching technique on this defense is I think the biggest issue. Oh boy. So that's kind of the personnel who have struggled. And I do think this is Turner. I think you have the players to turn it around and be average. Just go from being one of the worst units in the country to average. And then we can talk about winning some big ball games.
I don't know. I really just, I don't know at this point, man.
Well, let's put it like this. The 2019 defense for LSU was pretty average, right?
There was
maybe
some
I
NFL
think
talent on
play
the
great,
field.
yeah.
There was NFL talent on the field in 2019. I mean, I'm looking at this defense right now, and sure, you have guys that jump off the page like Mekhi Wingo, Harold Perkins. Like, you have some dudes, but it's just going to be a struggle for the secondary moving forward, and teams are going to look to exploit it like crazy. I'm not saying we're going to go 7-5 by any means,
Yeah.
but I mean, I think going 9-3 is a win at this point in the season, just because that secondary is just so vulnerable. You started a true freshman.
I do think secondary lacks talent.
You're playing a guy like LaTerrence Welch who just hasn't played. And when he was out there, he just kind of looked disengaged. He had that one pass breakup early that, social media ran with and whatnot. But, I mean, he just looked disengaged. Ashton Stamp still needs time to develop. Zy Alexander, battled that ankle injury. And for the most part, it's just a matter of when will this team respond? How can they respond? Will they get it done? But look, I'm just not convinced at this point in time. I don't know if it's a talent issue, personnel issue, fundamentals issue, but this defense to me is just such a work in progress. I don't know if they can turn it around in the blink of an eye. If you had a bye week this week, I'd sit back and be like, you know what? Okay, maybe they can. But you're about to start to enter this gauntlet of a schedule. It's sooner rather than later, and I'm not sure when they can turn it around.
And my point I was trying to illustrate was not necessarily that this defense will be average. It was that if they can get to playing average,
then they'll be a success story.
Then this team can do some big things because of how that offense is rocking and rolling. I mean, you don't need a top 5 defense to
you need a top 70 defense.
Right. You need a top 70 defense. You need to be in the middle of the pack at least. And they're not. They're not even close. They're 706 yards. That's projectile vomiting bad. It's rough. Guys, let's pay a little bit of bills around here. We got to talk about Celebrity Theater, our title sponsor tonight. Of course, they do their weekly specials there at Celebrity Theaters. They've got Monday, Senior Savings Day, $5 for all patrons over the age of 55 all day. Tuesdays, Bargain Tuesday, discounted movie tickets and concessions for all. Wednesday, college night. Admissions for college students are after 5 p.m. is only $5 each. The Baton Rouge location has half off arcades. Thursday, Baton Rouge location only is Thirsty Thursday, where they have discounted bar items. Y'all make sure to go check them out at celebritytheaters.com. And do not forget, they are putting on the Eras Tour, the Taylor Swift Eras Tour, which I know you don't want to talk about Taylor Swift. I got to do it. They're paying me to do it, Zach. But anyways, they're going to be doing it in Dolby Atmos 3D. So it's the next best thing to actually going to the concert, and probably cost you 1% of the cost if I had to guess. I also got to thank Spectre Sports Art. As you can see, the Dylan Cruz piece behind me, and an outstanding.
Yeah, some people were asking about where that was at, so definitely give them their shout out.
Yeah. So, the art behind this comes from artist Jordan Spector. It's available at spectresportsart.com/The Bayou. Link in the description of this video and also on the content item of our page. You can go check that out, or just go to spectresports.com/The Bayou. The art that Spectre creates is guaranteed to catch the eye of any Tiger fan, and the details are guaranteed to hold them, from the puzzle piece on the arm to the golden cleats to the fireworks, the national championship celebration. It's really good stuff. You might recall the Smokin' Joe piece. Of course, we've got this one that we hang up quite a bit. I can't even fit it on the full screen here, but here we go. Just excellent attention to details. Cool looking art there, guys. These athletes, Joe Burrow's parents have that hanging in their living room. Dylan Cruz family purchased the Dylan Cruz piece behind us. So it's the same work that the athletes are actually hanging in their own man cave. Artwork is available in quality prints or canvases like you see behind me. Of course, you see the Tiger Stadium behind me. That's one of his quality prints that is framed. It is ready to hang in the box. You've got all your tools ready to go, and you've got any size to fit your space or budget. So go make sure to check out spectresportsart.com, The Bayou, and use your promo code TigerBait10 to get 10% off your order, and let our sponsors know that their sponsor dollars are being put to good work at TigerBait.com, because they see that they got a sale from our sponsorship. All right, last segment here. We're going to get to comments tonight. We're going to roll some comments. We're going to talk. Is Preston a Swiftie? Preston's wife is the biggest Swiftie ever, right? So it's kind of been one of those like crossover of worlds for me, where me and my wife are talking about Taylor Swift. My algorithm is a Swiftie. Okay. I recognize a Taylor Swift song. I can't say that I've actively pursued a Taylor Swift song or frankly content item in my life.
You're a Swiftie by default.
Yeah, I'm uh, look, I'm married into the Swiftyism. Okay. Music says I 100% partake in Taylor
Agreed.
Swift worship.
Agreed.
I just think it's so sad that she's using Travis Kelce to promote her music and elevate her brand.
She put Travis Kelce on the map.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. We're talking about a
It's a
Hall of
joke.
Famer here, dude. We're talking about a Hall. Taylor Swift has 0 career receptions. Okay.
Joke. I hate it. I hate it, so I have to
I know
throw as
you
many
hate
jokes
it,
out as
dude.
I can.
But I just think it's
So tired
funny
of
the
it.
battle we're getting going about, Taylor Swift put Travis Kelce on the map. Travis Kelce put Taylor Swift on the map. It's kind of a funny little back and forth we've got going on. Of course, I'm trolling my wife just nonstop with the whole, did you see Travis Kelce's dating that little country singer to help her get her brand up? It's pretty funny.
We cannot talk about Taylor Swift.
Name a song. Welcome to New York. That was all I could hear on Sunday Night Football last night. Guys, hey, I switched up the Wi-Fi. Y'all let me know. Am I still looking like blurry and
Looks better.
all that good stuff, or am I better? Let me know in the comments section if switching to my AT&T cell phone Wi-Fi has improved upon the very expensive Gigablast Cox internet that I pay for with a brand new router that I got last week to help improve this. Let's see here. Hey, look, we got a compliment. You good? And he was telling me I look bad earlier. Man, all right. Now I'm upset because the comment section is dominated with Taylor Swift comment. Let me go back
we
to.
got to switch topics.
I
I can't do this.
cannot talk Taylor Swift this long. Real Edo says 6-6. I think even if the defense doesn't improve, we're looking at better than 6-6. You've got Georgia State left on your schedule. Army left on your schedule. That alone gets you to 5. And I mean, look, it's not like LSU got blown out. It's kind of funny. It's a very close game that LSU lost, where essentially the victory fell through the hands of Chris Hilton, which tough catch to make. It's not like he just dropped it, but it did hit him in the hands.
Feels like after that Tennessee game last year, like after we got absolutely walloped.
It feels like that, but it was a much closer game.
Exactly.
So 6-6 is just, that's crazy. I think if the defense makes 0 improvement, I think we're talking about 8-4. 8-4. If they can become average, 9-3 is realistic. And I'm just hoping, with probably not much evidence behind it to support that they'll get there, but part of me in my gut thinks that they will revert to the mean, okay, and they will become a more and more average unit as the year goes on. Pork rinds, 300 yards on our defense. They ran for 56 on Alabama. Our defense is the worst in the country. That's another good point. Bama completely shut down Judkins in that running game.
Man, Judkins he had only 200 yards going into the game, and then he had almost 200 yards after the game, just in that one alone. So, I mean, yeah, he unlocked a whole nother element. Everybody kind of found a way to shut him down except for us.
Womack, Jefferson, Wingo need to stay in the game as much as possible. I'm shocked Womack didn't get back in the game this week, man. He looked really good the week before against Arkansas. What do you think's going on with that?
I don't know. I don't know if it comes back to this whole that players are still learning narrative that Brian Kelly keeps pushing. And obviously we're not in the locker room. We don't get practice coverage during the season. So, I can't sit back and say like, why? All I can do is kind of speculate that something, inside the walls is going on that we just don't know about, whether it's with Weeks, Womack, and a bunch of other guys as well from a youngster's perspective. But yeah, I'm not quite sure this whole Womack, holding him back because he's only going to learn by getting on the field.
Pork rinds went from 6-6. I'm thinking 4-8 or 5-7. Man, we got some chicken littles out there today. Oh man. Hey, here's the best comment of the night. Looks like you paid your bill. Guys, the bills are all paid. This is a different bill I'm paying here. I pay for my cell phone bill. I pay for my cable bill. It's just one's doing the heavy lifting right now. Yep, likely 8-4, and sadly, I'd be okay with that. We'll see. I think LSU will have a chance to win every ball game on its schedule. Whether or not they actually do it, another topic for another day. You know, and then I think about teams like Texas A&M, where is Max Johnson. He's kind of a stiff quarterback. I don't know that he's necessarily the guy to take advantage of this defense. Now, when he has time in the pocket and can find a
Right.
receiver, he's got an absolute. He can toss some darts if he's got time, but he's not like a roll out of the pocket, buy some time, type passer. I think there's a lot of matchups moving forward. In fact, Missouri is a matchup that probably scares me the most. Did you see LSU opened up as 6.5-point favorites?
I did, which is interesting because it's on the road. So that really means that we're probably like a 9-point favorite because they usually give 3 points to the other whatever. So yeah, bottom line, I don't know. We'll see. I thought that was interesting as well.
The predictions are getting worse as the show goes on. So our
It keeps going down and down and
is
down.
making these fans have less and less faith. The next guess is going to be 2-10. They're going to take away a win,
revoke
for
one.
violations of poor defense, I guess. Better not slip to Mizzou, Florida, or Auburn. You see, now I will say this: Auburn, that matchup does scare me a little bit because they got guys who can run them around with the ball a bit. But I think LSU is a much better team than Auburn is at this point. Mizzou scares me a good bit because they're torching it right now. All right, let's see here. I got one more round of ads to get to. I'm going to thank Celebrity one last time and tell you about their events that they do at Celebrity Theaters. Of course, all Celebrity Theater locations house 8 to 10 auditoriums. Whether you're interested in hosting a birthday party, private movie screening, corporate meeting, or arcade party, we have the perfect facility to fit your needs. Celebrity Theaters is proud to offer birthday packages for children of all ages. Let us handle everything from movies to entertainment to setup to cleanup. For more information or to book your party online, visit celebritytheaters.com/events. If you are looking for an exciting, affordable venue to host your next school event fundraiser, you have come to the right place. Celebrity Theaters is a crowd pleaser for students, teachers, adults, and chaperones. To schedule your next birthday party, family gathering, holiday party, corporate event, field trip, or private theater buyout, contact celebritytheaters.com or or send them an email at events@celebritytheaters.com. Also got to thank Alumni Hall. Hey, Tiger fans, when you want to show your Tiger pride, especially when you've got 706 reasons to do so, Alumni Hall is your ultimate shopping experience. The best and largest selection of apparel for the whole family. Nike, Nike Golf, Champion, Columbia, Peter Millar, Southern Tide, hats, Yeti, gifts, accessories, and more. LSU students, faculty, and military receive 10% off in-store every day. You can earn cash back with their Hall Pass rewards. Alumni Hall, located in Perkins Row, or anytime at alumnihall.com. Alumni Hall, where Tiger fans shop. And guys, I really want to thank all the people watching this show. I mean, tons of people go to Alumni Hall and tell them all the time that we heard about you on TigerBait. People will tweet out pictures of them at the store. Can't tell you how much that means to me that y'all have, come out and showed your support and told them where you came from. So we're going to wrap this up with a few comments. Guys, if you enjoyed the show today, please make sure to hit that like button. Hit that like button, get our algorithm up. Make sure, share the show to your Facebook groups, to your social media, whatever. And make sure if you're not subscribed to the channel to do so. We are rapidly approaching 23,000 subscribers. We'd really like to hit that milestone here soon and move forward. I believe got to be one of the largest LSU content channels at this point. So appreciate all of y'all for making that happen. And look, got someone endorsing our sponsor. Celebrity is the cleanest theater in the city, in my opinion. I've been going to Celebrity Theaters way before they were, paying me to talk about them. I loved that theater for years. And yeah, I agree, man. It's really clean. It's just locally owned, and you can tell. Complaints make it to the owner, not some corporate line, and they take care of business, man. And just great, comfortable facility. Love it. Appreciate the comment, LSU Tiger King. If you go to O'Neill, you might as well go to Celebrity. Support local. Right there with you, man. Man, we got a lot of celebrity theater. I'm literally just looking for comments. They're all talking about celebrity. No IMAX. So they don't have IMAX, but did you know that they actually don't have true IMAX theaters in Louisiana at all?
Damn,
So,
I thought they had one in New Orleans.
No, they don't. They don't. The closest one is actually Dallas, the true IMAX. Now, they'll have theaters with the IMAX label on it, but it's not a true IMAX. I discovered that when people were talking about Oppenheimer. The Dolby Atmos 3D sound is actually going to be more comparable to a true IMAX experience than what you're going to see at these theaters that just slap an eye. Like they'll use some IMAX technology, but it's not a true IMAX theater. Look, you're gonna have to talk to some audiophiles about all the specs behind that. All I can tell you is the Dolby Atmos theater is sick. It is absolutely just, whoo, it's a lot. It says Alumni Hall self-dyed 3 shirts. Guys, we gotta stop making.
He put one earlier. Yeah, there it is. There, that's what I was waiting to see.
Oh man! Well, they printed SEC West champ shirts, and they printed baseball national championship shirts and women's basketball national championship shirts. I don't know that 3 and 9 would make the cut, but we'll see. We'll see. So we'll talk a little bit about the offense here because they deserve praise. Offensive line played a good game, gave up 3 sacks. Running back, I'm really interested that they went with Logan Diggs, like almost exclusively. I think Josh Williams got no carries. The only back to get the ball was Logan Diggs. What do you think about the decision to go with Diggs and no more rotation?
I mean, at some point you have to, start to wean down these snaps to go into all these different guys and have this one guy hit his stride. And I feel like Logan Diggs has done that. Obviously, it would have been nice to see Josh Williams enter the fold a little bit more as well. But look, man, you got 8 scholarship backs, and it's a lot of mouths to feed, and you can't feed everybody. And somebody as dynamic and strong and powerful and ferocious as Logan Diggs, I mean, you got to unlock him at some point. And I feel like a week or 2 ago was kind of where he hit his stride, and Kelly and them are rolling with it. So I'm confident in his abilities. I'm kind of intrigued that they're giving him a higher snap count. And, I think it'll only unlock more of a balanced attack moving forward. And we saw that against Ole Miss on Saturday.
I believe his in between the tackle running really separates himself. He has the best vision and the second most talent of all the running backs. We already know who I think has the most talent. It's the guy who dropped the ball in the biggest situation last night, which honestly, if he catches that ball, LSU probably wins the game. That's the sad part about it.
Yeah, and I mean, long-term, Caleb Jackson, I mean, he's that dude. Long-term, Caleb Jackson, right. Sky's the limit for him. But I think if you're looking at it just like right now at this point in time, Logan Diggs is the more complete back. He's the most complete back on the team. And I think that's obviously why they're giving him the nod and kind of giving him this high snap count. And I mean, dude, he's shining. I mean, over 100 yards again. I mean, like I said, I'll say it again. I'm intrigued. I can't wait to see how he shines more as SEC play continues.
Is Scarborough a Yankee? Does he come off as a Yankee to you?
I don't think so.
His mom's from New York.
There it is.
So he's half Yankee. We'll give him half Yankee there. As long as I don't see a DBU shirt, I'll be okay. And then the combo comment: we should sell bad BDU shirts, bad defense university. Is Preston a Yankee? Well, I have my family lineage tracked back all the way to when we got to America, and no one has ever been north of North Carolina. Okay. Like I'm about as Southern as they come. I mean, mom's family's from Mississippi. So all the Ole Miss people, distant relatives had a good time ripping me this weekend. But yeah, no, from Louisiana, man, I'm as coon ass as they come. Let's see here. I consider Mike a Cajun. Okay, well, if your standards are that low for the word Cajun, then hey man, that's on you because New York, that explains it. Guys, I appreciate y'all for joining us tonight. It's a good show. There was lots to get to, lots of good comments. Make sure to hit like on the show, share the show so people who watch the replay And y'all make sure to tune in. We'll have our post game show after the Missouri game. You know the best part of an 11 a.m. game is, Zach?
Get the evening to unwind.
You actually have something with your day.
Thank God.
So when you have a day game, what's like your post work routine? Not post
Go
game.
hang out with some friends and get ready to go out. Go do something to unwind because my goodness, every Saturday is so busy. So it's nice to have an 11 a.m. kickoff just to unwind, kick it with some friends, and just go do something relaxing instead of work.
It is funny to me how often the media, like, we love 11 a.m. kickoffs, but like as a fan, I understand, like, yeah, I would hate it as a fan if I didn't have to work all the time.
Right.
I'm kind of surprised you didn't go full sicko mode there and say, nah, dog, when I'm done writing the game, I'm watching the rest of the games right on my couch.
No film study for me until Sunday. No.
I do like watching the rest of the games, but I will say, it's a bit of an arm wrestle. Sometimes it's like take the wife and kid out somewhere, you know what I mean? Or watch some. It really depends on how good the football game is on that Saturday night. If there's like a rock solid game, I'll be like, all right, babe, we're sitting here. But if
back
there's
in the chair, just eat, do whatever, watch some damn football.
Let's go do something. Let's go out. Let's go see some family. Let's go get pay to go see grandparents or something, whatever. Anyways, guys, I appreciate y'all for watching. Have a great night. We'll see you next week.